Hi, I'm Anders, and today I want to talk about what I think is the single best box you could get any wargamer for Christmas. So, Santa's already brought it. Let's take a look. It's spiders! So, I've been messing around with a couple of Wargames Atlantic sets lately for another project that we'll talk about more soon. But while looking through their stuff, I came across their giant spider set and was pretty impressed. You don't see a lot of multi-part spider kits out there, and these guys not only look pretty good, there was a bunch of them in the box, to the point that I realized you could make an entire Dark Denizens of Mirkwood army for the Middle-earth strategy battle game out of this one box, for less than $50 Canadian. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start off by building my very own Dark Denizens of Mirkwood set, so let's get going. Starting off with assembly, which was honestly kind of fiddly. As once you have the two big blocks from the center together, you have to glue on all the legs separately. How it's supposed to work is there are grooves for all the legs on the body, and two in the middle are squared, which fit some specific legs from the set, basically to give you a standing point from which to attach the rest of the legs. However, when doing this, they tended to sit a little high and unnaturally, so I either ignored this and stuck them on in different positions, or leaned the whole body either forward or backwards to switch it up. The other thing that's great about this set is that it actually comes with two different sizes of spiders, one big and one tiny. And while the big ones are fiddly, the little ones are one solid piece with two different designs that are honestly too similar to be really bothered about, so they were really easy to cut out and prep. And the other thing that really pushes this set over the top are the extras. First of all, you get two little wrapped up bodies, one more or less normal person, and one shorter and stockier with big hairy feet to either be a dwarf or halfling. Also, if fantasy just isn't your thing, this set also comes with some sci-fi stuff, including weird guns and robot bits to bring your creepy spiders into your futuristic gaming. So overall, I'm really impressed by this kit, but I did want to do something else to set them apart, so I started looking at the art again. The spiders in Tolkien are kind of like the wargs in that they're basically just big versions of normal animals. And like the wargs, I wanted them to be a bit more monstrous. So I found myself once again being drawn to John Howe's work, as he does some really weird stuff with the spiders, giving them lots of spikes, little skulls, and typically quite a weird, nasty black color. And so I jumped off from there and gave them some spikes. I did this simply by using a bit of green stuff, rolling into little cones, sticking them on, and blending them in. And while I do this, I did want to talk a bit more about influence here. I spend a lot of time over on Instagram, and if you're into Middle-earth wargaming on Instagram, you're going to know Kim of Kim's Painting Corner. He's a spectacular creator doing fantastic original conversions and sculpts for all of his armies, and has done a particularly beautiful job on a ton of spiders. So much so that I just had to do my own. And so once we were done, I noticed something else about this kit. There are no bases, even though there are bases on the box, which is weird. So while you could just make your own out of some MDF or something else, I wanted them to match up to the rest of my Middle-earth boys, and so ordered myself some bases from GW, namely 60mm for the big boys and 40 for the wee lads. While waiting for these to come, I did actually cheat a bit and grabbed another cheapo model from the shop to use as a spider queen. So to stay totally true to the thesis here, I could have just converted up / painted one of the spiders a bit differently to be the queen, but I liked the look of this model and just thought it would be so fun. So I added spikes to her as well, and also added some little skulls to her body like we saw before, just by cutting up some Citadel skulls and gluing them on. As for the bases, I once again was inspired by Kim, as he's done some spectacular work on his foresty ones. So I started off by building up some shapes out of cork, just by ripping off and sticking them on in random ways. This is actually another great example of why this kit is a great Christmas gift, as it offers opportunities for family time. The bases here are so simple and fun that even my wife was able to stomach it and gave me some help. She even said she enjoyed it, enough to come back and help me with the next steps even. Basically, once all the glue is dried, we go in with some knives and just pick away at it all to make the shapes more natural, rounding them out and adding gradual slopes. We also started sticking on some random debris, namely some broken up sticks and plastic branches I got from cutting up a little plastic bonsai tree I found at the dollar store. Finally, once it was all done, I added a final smoothing layer of drywall mudding on top to mix it all together. And with that, it was time to paint it all. I decided to keep the bases separate from the models as I planned to do some more in-depth stuff with them later on, and so mounted all of my spiders onto some little wood blocks I cut up as handles for painting. Then I sprayed them all black and we were good to go. I normally always zenithal prime my balls, but I just kind of got lazy here and I genuinely regret it, as I feel like it made the painting a lot more of a slog. You'll also notice some of them have a bit of a different finish, as I ran out of black spray primer halfway through and had to finish off with some semi-gloss black I had lying around. I didn't want to go for the more classic and realistic looking browns you see so much on spiders, and decided to lean farther into the more grotesque stuff you see on Shelob in the movies, and so picked out the main bodies, joints, and deeper recessions with a Caucasian skin tone. This was honestly kind of a pain, as the paint didn't cover well over the black, so I had to do multiple coats, which really dragged out the whole process. But then I added some messy base coats to the rest of the body to clean up the flesh, and I varied this between a gray, black, and brown. Then with a few last base coats down, we were on to washes. The main thing was washing all the fleshy bits, and I mainly did this with some contrast paints. I did try to vary up the colors I washed them with, but some of my attempts turned out way too strong, so I mostly stuck to light greens and sepias. Then it was just highlighting up the spikes with some bones to a pure white, cleaning it all up with some brown shades on the way. Then for the bases, we kept them pretty messy too, and went a bit wild. Looking at the Mirkwood set of the movies, it got some really crazy colors going when they're all toned down through the filters for the final look. So I tried to do something similar, wet blending brown with reds and greens to get a nice undercoat before dry brushing it and washing it all down with browns and blacks. Then we brought some more colors back with a few glazers and dry brushed the wood and rocks again to pick them back out. Then it was on to flocking, and I mainly used some of my dollar store moss for this, sticking in big clumps as well as some nice little leaves I made. I did this simply by painting some contrast paint onto that brown packaging paper GW uses, and then cutting them out with a little leaf punch. I always pass on these at hobby shops as they always feel just a bit too expensive, but I ended up finding one at the dollar store for a couple of bucks, so I grabbed that. It's a bit big, but for a weird fantasy forest like Mirkwood, I think it works fine in my opinion. Also, can we just talk about shipping boxes for a moment, as GW is just ridiculously inefficient. This whole box was sent with just one set of dice, whereas I ordered the Atlantic Miniatures kits from a Canadian shop, Tista Miniatures, and they used almost the exact same boxes, but packed 2 whole kits into it with literally no room to spare, so freaking good on you guys. But back to the bases, as once the bits of moss and leaves were stuck on with PVA, I added some more finely sieved moss over top to blend it all together and get some good coverage. This is also the way I do my Dull Guldur bases, and these can be used in that army, so it works out great. But I didn't want to stop there, and wanted to bring a bit more into it, and so we had to do some cobwebs. I've wondered for a while how best to do cobwebs on miniatures, and I can't remember where I initially found it, but the final answer was absurdly simple. It's just dryer sheets. They have a perfect texture once ripped up, and can be attached and stiffened up really easily with just a bit of PVA on the bases and a little over top. The one thing though is it's better to use ones that have already gone through the wash, or unscented if you can, as they smell really strong otherwise. Nice, but strong. Ugh. Then it was as simple as adding a few dots of super glue to the spider's feet and just sticking them on in nice ways to the bases, and there you go. I haven't quite finished up all of these guys, but I have a nice little group of them now, and I really love them. They're so creepy, and while I do think I could clean up and make the paint jobs a bit better, I feel like the overall impact really works. And like I said, there's 24 spiders in this box, and so if you convert one up as a queen, you can run between 500 to 600 points of army, just like that out of a single box with costs, as I said at the beginning, less than $50, which compared to the official ones is, yeah, it's not even a contest. So I hope you had a lovely, creepy time here today, and I wanted to thank you all for watching, with particular thanks going out to my newest patron, Tony. I say it all the time, but not enough, as the support you guys have shown me is just amazing, and you're a fantastic little community to bounce ideas and plans off of. So, if you want to get involved in our little gang and wanted some fancy custom dice out of it too, hop over onto the Patreon page to take a look at what we got. But whatever you do, I'm just so thankful to have you here for the ride. So just keep watching, commenting, liking, sharing, and just being here. It's that time of the year when you really look back and take stock. What you've all given me this year with this channel has just been spectacular. And I can't wait to keep bringing you more stuff as we go. So thanks again, stay safe, and happy holidays all.